going on? Welcome back to the channel. Last night we were out and we got everything fitted on the driver's side to put the 13s on just to make sure everything was going to be all right. So ultimately the goal for today is I'm going to get the passenger side done, and then what I'm going to try and do is I'm going down to Detroit tomorrow to pick up an engine, and I'm going to stop at my buddy's house, and then I'm going to try and see if we can get a couple of these gear sets done and ready. So I'm going to pull the gear set out of this trans, gear set out of this trans. I had the gear set for another buddy's trans that we're going to go through, make sure everything's cleaned up and all right on. We're going to pull it apart, check out the synchro, make sure the synchro is good, put a new snap ring on it, and then we'll get that gear set back together. And then the gear set for this car, which is in this trans, is in need of a first and second gear synchro, we think. I'm going to take it apart and see what's going on. And then I'm not 100% sure if I have synchro liners here or not. If I do, awesome. If not, then I guess I'll have to try and order some. But this one ground in first and second. This one had a little bit of a notch going into second. We're not sure if it's a gear, if it's a synchro. Hopefully it's just a gear, and if it's just the gear and the synchro is okay, then I'd have a synchro for this transmission that I could use. But if not, then I guess it is what it is. We'll go from there. But we're gonna try and get this stuff apart today. I got a hold of the guy that does my powder and ceramic coating now, Rick, and he said that the manifolds and O2 housings were ready and I could pick them up. So he's got to run over and do some sandblasting, and then I'm gonna go pick that stuff up after that. But we're gonna see what we can get, and we'll step out and we'll go get those parts, and then we will come back and try and finish up what I had planned for today. So. Alright guys, so got the other spindle off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the rotor and the knuckle on and see what the stock one weighs, and then we're going to put the smaller base model brake setup on with the knuckle and see what that weighs. So then we'll be able to see the weight difference of the suspension changes too. So give me a second here. Okay, zero it out. Okay, so base model rotor and spindle, 27.4 pounds. Let's see what the stock one is. Wow. Stock assembly, rotor, spindle, 30.1. 30.1 to 27.4. That's nuts. That's 2.7 pounds per side that we're losing just in the brake or the knuckle assembly. And the caliper's smaller too, because the OE caliper has a bracket. Holy crap, guys. We might lose 10 pounds going to these different brakes set up here. Let me see. The caliper assembly itself is pretty close to the same size, but we're losing that bracket. That caliper bracket here. We're getting rid of that. So I'll get this caliper peeled off here and we'll see what the weight difference is on those. So we were 2.3 pounds lighter per wheel and tire at 4.6, and then 5.4 at 2.7 per side with the stock, well, going from the stock to the base model brake or brake setup. So with the knuckle and rotor, we dropped 5.4. So that's a total of 10 pounds just in wheels, tires, rotor, and knuckle assembly with the bearing and the ARP studs in them. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull the caliper off, and we're going to see what the weight difference is there. Okay, so without the calipers, we're at a total of 10 pounds right on the nose changing, or with a weight difference here. So now let's see what the calipers are. Let's do this. Hopefully there's not too much of a glare. So 12.7 with the stock caliper, bracket and pads. Base model, 9. So we lost 3.3 pounds on each caliper assembly. Wow. 16.6 pounds, guys. Going from the stock SRT knuckle, caliper, and rotor down to the base model knuckle, caliper, and rotor. 16.6 pounds just in that. Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe that. That's nuts. Well, I'm gonna get another caliper on here and keep this guy from bleeding back off on me, and we're gonna keep going. Alright guys, so we're back from town. It is a little bit later in the day. We made it to town and we got the O2 housing and manifold that we got from Ceramic Coat. It should kind of come out super nice. Got to put it through a heat treatment. Got a couple scuffs on it, but oh well. Can't be perfect all the time. Just gonna get used, but I do have some cracks I gotta fill. But that won't be an issue. I can just go ahead and V those out with my tool, heat it up with a torch, put some weld in there, clean up some of that slag on the inside of this, and then we should be alright. But that manifold in 102 housing is for rice car here, and then the other 02 housing obviously is for white rice. So I did get confirmation that we are doing gear sets tomorrow as well. So today, so what I'm going to try and button up now is I'm going to get the brake on. I'm going to do a little bit of grinding on the caliper, see if I can clearance it around the wheel, and then well, actually I probably won't do that. I'll probably just get the brakes on, get this side done, get this side up in the air, and at least get the gear set out, get the gear set out of this transmission, and then see what kind of time I got left for the night. Still waiting on my belt. Never did show up today at all, so I guess it is what it is at this point. I'll just have to try and check the tracking on Monday, and hopefully they updated it, because the last time I had an update was on the 13th that said it was moving from one facility to the next, but it stayed at that first facility for like 5 days, and that was in Allen Park. So we're waiting on that, unfortunately, but we're gonna keep moving forward with what we can do. So like I said, we're gonna try and get these brakes buttoned up here, and then we will get the gear set out of this trans, get the gear set out of that trans, zip tie them together, get that gear set ready to go, and then in the morning we're going down to Detroit to get that motor. So we'll take you guys for a ride down to the city. We'll get that motor loaded up, we'll show you some gear set action on my buddy's bench, and then we'll get back home, get that gear set shoved back in this car. We're gonna get going. Alright guys, so got the other brake on, got that side wrapped up. I haven't bled them yet, but like I said, we're more or less worried about getting the gear sets out now, make sure that's ready to go. And then once those are out, and if I got some time, I'll go back and I'll bleed the brakes. And I got to do a little bit of grinding on the calipers because they are grabbing the wheels. So I'm gonna grind this casting line off, this piece, and then I'm gonna see where I'm at on this stuff. It looked like the pad was almost touching it, but it might not be. It might just be right here. So we'll get that fitted back in and then see where we're rubbing. Like I said, if I got it, I'll grind some of the caliper here, and then we'll go a little bit past that because I am going to get these guys powder coated. So we are going to need a little bit more material out of the way. That way I'm not worried about getting the powder on it and then the wheel rubbing the powder off just to clearance itself again. So we'll get that taken care of, but for now we're going to get this gear set out of this transmission here, and then we'll get that guy ready to go. Alright guys, so we got the gear sets out. We got this one taken out of this trans. We got the gear set taken out of white rice here, so the transmission's hanging back in. It's supported by the trans mount. Luckily enough, the trans mount actually bolts to the case, not the half that, or not the back half that comes off, so we're good to go there. So when I took this one apart, I didn't realize how crusty this thing got daily driving it. So we're definitely gonna have to at least wire wheel that, maybe sandblast it, shoot some paint on it. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other case I have too, because it's kind of cracked and shitty looking. Might have it powder coated, I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm still gonna wire wheel and paint this just because I think that these are kind of like melted into place. I don't know if they actually pop out. I'd hate to break one, but they are fluid channels for lubrication on the bearings. So we definitely don't want to destroy those. So I'll probably do that to those, but I will more than likely take the gear set or pull the diff out of the trans, pull the tube and everything out of here, and then send that off and get that powder coated. Get the case powder coated, maybe the plate. I'm not sure on that one. I might just kind of pull the weights off and wire wheel that and shoot some color on it quick. The same thing I do with the side plate here. So we'll play it by ear and see exactly what ends up going on with that. But we got all our gear sets out here. We got all three of them ready to go. We got the Frana Gen 3, I think it is, the KW, and then the P-Works helical cut. This one's going in a buddy's car. These two are what are going in these two cars. This one, I think this is the KW. Probably gonna end up going into Rice Car 2.0. Just because of the bottleneck in the shaft, we're gonna feed it the nitrous. We're gonna make a bunch more torque. And this car is a lot lighter. So I will use the bottleneck billet shaft that I have, which was the one that I took out anyway, which I think this one's the Frana. This is the one that was already in this car. So this one's gonna go back. This one's gonna end up going in that car. This one's probably not gonna run for at least another month at the soonest. So we're not in a huge rush to get that gear set back. So I'm okay with ordering parts and having to wait a couple weeks on that. But we can slowly make progress with this. We can work on the engine and start getting this one together, because I am picking up that other engine tomorrow. So we're waiting on the Turbo Bay prototype to come back. Can't wait. This thing's gonna be a riot with nitrous. We'll be able to make the same amount of power on less timing than we wanted before, which will really help, because when we start pulling it for the nitrous, it'll be even safer. But we're definitely gonna try and get this guy dialed in and make some jam with it. So we're pretty excited to get that turbo back. I got the manifold back today. You guys seen that earlier. I gotta go ahead and weld a couple cracks in it that go from the manifold part to the O2 housing part. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get these gear sets done tomorrow. We're gonna get that engine picked up. We're gonna start working on the engine for this car. Hopefully the timing belt shows up for this one at some point this week, so I can get the cams and everything together. Andy did drop off some parts for his red car. We did figure out a couple of the issues that we had going on, we think. So we ordered some parts for it. It kind of lays over at 4,000 RPM, so we got a new set of plugs. We got a cam sensor, cam sensor here. We got a cam magnet, new O-ring for the sensor itself. And I think that's what we're gonna start with for now. So we'll get that cleaned up and we'll see what happens there. It does have a cylinder 2 misfired idle. We're gonna get the other things taken care of first, and then he's gonna try and do a seafoam himself and see if it is just a dirty valve from making short trips. We're gonna shove the new plugs in it. We're gonna put the new cam sensor and magnet on, and then drive it. Hopefully the car manners a lot better, and then we can start worrying about the rest of it. We're getting the gear sets done tomorrow. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna wrap this one up. The wife does wanna watch a little bit of Solar Opposites before we go to bed tonight, so we're gonna go in, we're gonna hang out, kind of wind down for the night, get ready for the trip in the morning, go down and get some more parts, get these gear sets figured out, and then get back home. Today we are on our way down to Roseville first, and we're picking up an engine, and then we're going to Livonia, and we're going to get to working on those gear sets that we were talking about last night. So we are on 53. It is raining. I guess I could have picked a better day to come and try and get an engine, but I got a tarp. We got a soft cover that I can put the tarp over, and then I got a tire and everything we can put the motor in. So we'll at least be able to keep it dry until I can get it home, and then hopefully the rain is not there when I push white rice out, so I can keep water from getting in that. I guess if I have to, we could probably just string some towels over the doors and fill the hole so we can keep water out. But we're gonna keep driving and we'll bring you guys back in when we get to Marks. Alright guys, so we got the engine. It's in the back of the truck there. I don't know how well you can see it, but we're almost to Marks. We're gonna bring you guys back in once we get inside the shop and get to working on these gear sets. We're probably gonna end up bullshitting for a couple minutes before we start, so no point in filming all that and having to filter through it. So alright guys, so we got to Mark's place and I took the GoPro into the garage and I set it on the bench and we just started working on the gear sets, and we got about halfway through the second one before I realized that I never actually set the camera up. So instead of starting the video up in a partial way into The second one, we were gonna start the video on the third gear set, and then we put it on the tool, and then we noticed the input gear had a bunch of pitting in it, and then the synchro teeth on first and second gear were pretty wiped out. So we decided it wasn't worth messing with that gear set at all while we were there. So we just took it back out of the stand and brought it back home. And then I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do for an input shaft for this car now. So what I'm probably gonna end up doing is I'm gonna get that gear set into my other buddy Mark's car. I'm gonna get this car back together. We'll get this one done, ready to go, get it out of the way, and then start slamming out some side work and then see where I'm at money-wise. And then hopefully I can get myself a Liberty shaft or something like that. Some replacement parts would be nice as well. So what I think I might end up doing with this car here is I might just put a stock input shaft in it for now. Get the turbo in it, get it tuned on pump gas. Even on pump gas, we're probably only gonna be making, at most, I'm gonna guess 350 torque. Maybe 360, but I don't know if it'll get that high. But regardless, the stock input shaft can definitely take that kind of torque. So we're just gonna try and get this one back together with a stock input shaft for now so we can actually drive it, enjoy the car. And then once I get myself in a position to get another billet input shaft, or if I find a part out car or somebody selling a used shaft for a decent price, then I'll get that and I'll slip that into this gear set and then put the nitrous on, and then we'll start really playing with it and go for the record. Kind of some bummed out news for the day, but I mean, it is what it is. While we were down there, I did stop by my buddy Luke's house, and I got a parking brake, or staging brake setup that he got to use all the factory brake lines with. So he already had the lines and fittings planned out to come in from the master to the brake, and then to go back out to the master to hook onto the factory fuel line. So he's got male and female fittings for all that stuff. So we're gonna get that done, and then we'll get everything back in the car. But we're gonna get everything unloaded right now, and then kind of just hang out and get some dinner. We did get Boston Market while we were down there, so we're gonna get all that wrapped up. I'm gonna get the caliper put on this car. We'll put towels over the windows, get it rolled out, get the engine in here, get the car back in, and then we're gonna call it a night. So here we go. Alright guys, so we got the caliper on, we got the white car outside, unloaded the truck, we got the engine here, so we're going to use the cylinder head from this engine and this car. This engine is going to get moved to the stand. I'm going to probably take the cylinder head off on this one exactly where it sits, and then I'm going to go grab my other motor so that we'll have the truck over here another day. But I'm going to get that other motor, put it on the stand, get the head torn off, tear it down a little bit, check everything out, put this cylinder head on, stock camshaft, stock gears. Got a timing set coming. I did order another timing belt. I made a big order with Rock Auto, and I went ahead and threw another timing belt in that order because I'm getting tired of waiting for the first one. So hopefully that shows up with a bigger order. As long as it does, I can start moving forward with this car again because the gear set is done, so I can go ahead and get that in, get the brakes ground down. But ultimately, until I can really start making progress with this one, aside from getting the gear set back in and the brakes ground down to clear the wheels and get those ready for powder coat, is I gotta wait on that belt so I get the camshafts in and then try and get this guy fired up. I also gotta wire the fuel pump relay, so I'll probably go ahead and get that done. That won't be an issue. I mean, it's probably only gonna take me 10-15 minutes maybe. The trigger wire hangs out here. We got a 10 gauge power wire run all the way to the pump already. We're good to go there. So all I gotta really do is just get the relay side hooked up, and then what I'm probably gonna do is take the fuse box out real quick, pop the lid off, and then I'm gonna pop in a lead, 12 or a 10 gauge lead that they used for like an ABS feed or something like that out of one of the 30 or 40 amp fuses, and then I'm gonna use that to send power to the fuel pump itself. So the fuel pump will actually be protected by the factory fuse box. So that'll be nice. It'll help keep things cleaner. I won't have a big external fuse hanging off to the side somewhere. So that'll help keep that clean. So yeah, that's where we're at with this one, guys. Got the gear sets done. They're over here. Mark's done, mine's done. And like I said, we did find an issue with the other gear set, and I'll show you that here real quick. And I didn't even look at these when I pulled it out of the car. I kind of just pulled the gear set off, set it to the side, got ready to leave. But if you look, you can see where all the gears, or well, at least the straight cuts. The helicals look okay, but the straight cuts got some nasty, nasty wear marks from whatever happened with the synchros. I mean, you could see that, I don't know if the camera will pick up the teeth too well, but they're definitely not the happiest. And look at that gear, there's first gear. I don't know if the camera can pick that up too well, but you can see where it's ground down so much it's created a lip off of the side of the tooth. First gear and second gear are junk. The input shaft, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. The rest of the gear set was good to go. Third gear, fourth gear, we're solid there. So at least I got that donor for if I get a new shaft. I'm gonna wrap this one up today, guys. I'm gonna go run the truck back over to my grandma, get my car, get back home, kind of wind down for the night. Me and the wife did get Boston Market, so we're gonna eat that. I do got everything else here. So pretty much what's gonna happen this week after work is probably the first chance I get, I'm gonna get the gear set shoved back in this car because it is raining and it's supposed to rain for like the next 3 days. First priority, obviously, get the gear set back in, get the transmission back together and sealed up. And then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll get the brakes ground down. I did leave a wheel out here so I can do some grinding on those calipers, make sure that we're gonna clear wherever we need to. That way, once we get those wheels on the car, we go to the racetrack, we don't have to worry about getting some heat and everything, having it swell up a little bit, wearing a coating off, holding the car back, creating some drag. So that's definitely not something I want to deal with. I also got to bleed the brakes. I did just put the calipers in. We got that stuff on, and actually, because I got that staging brake, I'm not going to worry about bleeding the brakes until I get that in. So I'm kind of on the fence on what I want to do right now. I could cut the stock lines off and then mount the staging brake and then run those two lines to the back, and then or that and line to the back, and then where it splits off, I could make my own short line or reflare the end of the factory line with the factory fitting to make that happen. So I don't know if I want to cut it yet or if I want to make my own line. I do have another 2 sets of complete brake lines in the basement, so if for whatever reason I decided to take the staging brake out of this car and go back to stock, I can stick those lines back in, or I can make my own. They're not hard, but we got options there. So I'm kind of rolling it around right now and debating on what I want to do. We're definitely going to lose a lot of weight getting rid of the parking brake handle, the parking brakes in the back. We're going to lose that drag going down the track when they're properly adjusted, so that's also going to be huge. So I mean, it was a good day for some parts. Like I said, we got Mark's gear set done, we got my gear set done, we got that engine picked up, we got everything kind of shuffled around in the garage here. That other gear set off to the side, so that transmission case I'm gonna probably just stuff it under the shelves for now, get it out of the way. But we got some parts, guys. We made a good day. I'm definitely gonna get this one wrapped up for the night. You guys have yourself a good one. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you at the track. Thanks.